I was looking through, doing a little research like I usually do, seeing who I think would win, and I stumbled upon a very quick theory that I wanted to run by the people real quick. If you look through the almost decade history of the college football playoff, the winner either has one of these two things: the best player and or quarterback, or a juggernaut team. Don't believe me? Let's look through the history. We'll work backwards a little bit here. We'll start with the last two Georgia teams, 2023 and 2022. 25 NFL players drafted, and I think 22 of them are on the Philadelphia Eagles. They're so good that Stetson Bennett is an NFL quarterback right now. They just now lost their first game in almost 3 years, not even a month ago, against Alabama. If that's not a juggernaut, I don't know what is. Year before that, 2021, juggernaut and best player, Devontae Smith's Heisman season Alabama team. Devontae Smith's Heisman numbers are a lot more crazy than I remember him being. We got 98 receptions, 1,500 yards, 17 touchdown catches, 137 yards a game. Crazy. And perhaps his greatest accomplishment of all, convincing the world that Mac Jones is worth the first round draft pick, which, as you can see by my hoodie, if you're watching this, affects me greatly. I'm wearing a Patriots hoodie for y'all that are just listening audio-wise. 10 selections in the 2021 draft. Next, 2020, probably the best team on this list, juggernaut and best player / quarterback Joe Burrow, that LSU team. I can argue the greatest college football team of all time. I don't feel like going back and forth with people, so we'll say one of right now. Joe Burrow's Heisman numbers. True road to glory video game PlayStation stuff right here. Over 5,000 total yards, over 50 total touchdowns, a completion percentage of just under 78%, the highest in Heisman history. Then NFL record, 14 players selected in the NFL draft. That does not include Jamar Chase, who was the number 5 overall pick the following year, and Derek Stingley Jr., who was the number 3 pick 2 years later, who was already the best corner in the country as a freshman. Year before that, we got Trevor Lawrence, who coincidentally also lost the following year to Joe Burrow, but we're not talking about that right now. At the time, we thought Trevor Lawrence was the next Peyton Manning. Obviously, it hasn't worked out that way yet. I still have hope. Some people don't, but we'll see. 2018, the best quarterback in the country was Lamar Jackson, but since he was on Louisville School for the Blind, it didn't really work out that way as far as getting him to the playoffs. So we're going to have to deal with these juggernauts instead. The two teams that did make it was Georgia and Alabama, who, if y'all remember, both were juggernauts that year. Between the two of them, 18 NFL draft picks that following year. 12 for Bama, 6 for Georgia. That does not include Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, Tua, and all the other Alabama players that later on became first-round picks years later after that draft, too. Year before that, best quarterback, Deshaun Watson. I will not explain further for obvious reasons. Year before that, Alabama, juggernaut. 2016 Alabama's team had Heisman winner, best player in the country, Derrick Henry, who ran for all the yards. I don't have to look it up because if you remember Derrick Henry's Heisman year, it looks exactly the way Derrick Henry looks now, except he was doing it to college kids back then, so it looked even worse. Derrick Henry looked the exact same way he looks right now in college. I don't think he's gained a single pound since he graduated college. So just imagine the way he's throwing around grown men now. He was doing that to kids who had to study for calculus the next day in college. Ridiculousness. The first year of the college football playoff. Now, this one was a little bit tricky because we didn't know that this guy was the best player in the country until the playoffs started. But oh boy, when it did, Ezekiel Elliott's 2015 Ohio State Buckeyes. I need y'all to follow me here. History is not kind to many people as far as remembering just how good they were and what they did in their time in their heyday. Ezekiel Elliott, sadly, is one of those people. I'm going to read to you his 3-game run from the Big Ten championship to the national championship. Big Ten championship against Wisconsin, who was number 13 in the country at the time. 20 rushes for 220 yards and 2 touchdowns. First round of the college football playoff, the Sugar Bowl against number 1 Alabama. 20 rushes, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns. National championship against Oregon. 36 rushes, 246 yards, 4 touchdowns. Now, I know that Zeke's been in our lives for quite some time, and for some reason playing for the Cowboys makes people think you're worse. Just ask Dak Prescott. We have an NFL question about him later that'll put that question to the test. Just trust me on that one. Ezekiel Elliott was one of the best college running backs in my lifetime, and he was picked number 4 in the draft for a reason. That Zeke playoff run may have been forgotten to history, but it was different, let me tell you. So why did I just run through the past 10 years of college football history? Well, let me tell you, audience. As I'm looking at this year's landscape, top 4 teams, Bama, Texas, Washington, Michigan. I don't really see a juggernaut in there, do y'all? I mean, Washington is undefeated, and they played in what the best conference in the world this year was, which is the Pac-12, which great time to be the best conference in the country, Pac-12, on the last year you're going to exist. Is Michigan a juggernaut? Not really. Level of competition, that Iowa game definitely didn't inspire confidence in the country. Alabama's been playing really well, but they've already dropped the game to another team that's in the tournament already. And I don't think anyone would call Texas a juggernaut, would they? However, there's one team amongst the four who definitely qualifies for Category 2 best quarterback. Although if you ask the Heisman voters, he's the second best quarterback in the country, but story for another day. I'm not here to rehash the Heisman. Michael Penix Jr. of the Washington Huskies is going to be the reason I picked the Huskies to not only beat Texas, but to beat the winner of Alabama and Michigan to win the national championship. As far as Alabama and Michigan's game, I'm going with Alabama, and here's why. If you really look at the roster construction for Michigan, it's really just Jim Harbaugh doing a mid-2010s Alabama impression, and you're not going to out Nick Saban, you know what I mean? A lot of people see it for J.J. McCarthy in ways that I just simply don't. Hopefully he proves me wrong on the next level. Y'all know me. I wish nothing but the best for these college kids, but I just don't see it right now. And if it comes down to these two stellar defenses are completely shutting the other offense's number one best thing down, we need to improvise. The person I trust the most to improvise on either one of those offenses is Jalen Milroe, because he wants to improvise anyways. He wakes up wanting to improvise. That's what he does. So for the national championship, we're going Alabama versus Washington. And I got Michael Penix Jr. raising a trophy at the end and solidifying himself as a first-round draft pick, because for whatever reason, I don't see him on top of a lot of mock drafts in the first round, but trust me, he will be in the next 2 weeks or so. Let me tell you.